They thought Earth was weak, insignificant, forgotten. But when the stars turned cold, humanity reminded them who we really are. No one survived, except the guy from Brooklyn. The stars used to sing. Once, this galaxy buzzed with color and motion. Trade ships blinked across wormholes. Alien diplomats shouted in 10 tongues across polished marble halls. Cities floated inside living nebulae. Planets weren't just worlds. They were homes to wonders and fears, to cultures with names that now meant nothing. But now, silence. The void had swallowed them all. No one knows how it started. There were no warnings, no invasions, no plagues, no collapsing stars or mass extinctions. Just a silence that grew slow and invisible until the last voice was gone. They called it the silence. It wasn't a weapon. It didn't even make sense. It didn't burn or kill with visible force. It just muted everything. Entire worlds went dark. Empires faded without screams. Sentience itself disappeared. One by one, species vanished. Systems went offline. The last Galactic Council message was a garbled breath. We don't under... And then, nothing. Now, the stations drift. Ships bob in empty space like tombstones. A nebula bursts quietly, unwatched. The galaxy holds its breath, but there's no one left to exhale. Except for one man. Joey Russo didn't sign up to save the galaxy. Hell, he barely signed up for the union discount. He was just a maintenance engineer, blue-collar, Brooklyn-born, stationed on Outpost E99, a forgotten cargo hub parked around the dying gas giant. The kind of place you go when you don't want to be noticed or promoted. Joey didn't mind. Give him a wrench, a busted panel, and an old song playing in his ear chip. And he was good. He cursed like he cared, smoked synth cigs like they were opinions. He fixed problems because nobody else would. And now, he's the problem. Because when the galaxy died, Joey was still on shift. He didn't even notice at first. Thought the quiet was part of another system crash. Rebooted the comms, grumbling about lazy techs and budget cuts. But there were no calls coming in. No status lights. Just a blinking red screen. Every port silent. Every system empty. Every voice gone. And Joey? He stood in that cold control room staring at the void. One foot tapping, one hand on his hip. What the fuck is going on out there? Nobody answered. It started like any other malfunction. Lights dimmed, the hum of engines slowed to a whisper. Even the station AI went quiet mid-insult. Joey frowned. That wasn't normal. Not even for this rust bucket. He flicked switches, slapped panels, rebooted systems the old-fashioned way by kicking them. Then came a sound he never expected. Complete nothing. He stood in the core hallway, sweat beading under his collar. No footsteps, no comm chirps, no background hum. It was like the entire station had decided to hold its breath. Then came the realization. Station control, you there? Silence. Command! Docking Bay 4 is fried again. I need clearance. Nothing. Joey's jaw tightened. He opened an emergency broadcast. No response. Not even static. The galaxy had gone dark. And the scariest part? He was still here. Joey's station had always been off the grid. Blame budget cuts. The relay never synced properly with the galactic net. He used to curse it. Now, it saved his life. That busted relay kept the silence out. Somehow. No logic, no explanation. Just one lucky, outdated flaw in an otherwise dead system. He wandered the halls, alone, talking to himself mostly, swearing at pipes, making jokes no one could hear. Sometimes he'd stare out the viewport, stars blinking, pretending everything was still okay. He thought about Earth, his mom's old apartment, hot dogs on 6th Ave, the time he punched the guy for skipping a subway line. He'd give anything to hear that guy complain again. The loneliness wasn't quiet. It was loud. It echoed in the empty mess hall, rang in the broken vending machines, screamed in his chest at 3 a.m. But Joey didn't fold. He patched systems, logged every weird glitch, ate cold protein tubes, and muttered, "Better than mom's meatloaf." He wasn't just alive, he was living. And that counted for something. A week after the silence hit, Joey picked up a signal. It wasn't from Earth, wasn't from anywhere known. Just a faint pulse, repeating every 11.3 seconds. Fuzzy, garbled, untranslated. Joey narrowed his eyes. Well, ain't that suspicious as hell? Was it a trap? A last gasp from some survivor? Or the thing that caused all this? He tuned the frequency, boosted power to the dish. The message didn't change, just a loop, a whisper buried in static. He wrote it down, line by line. It looks like alien poetry or broken math. Great. But one thing was clear. It wasn't random. It was calling out. And Joey? He couldn't ignore it. Not anymore. Silence. Command! Docking Bay 4's fried again. I need clearance. Nothing. Joey's jaw tightened. He opened an emergency broadcast. No response. Not even static. The galaxy had gone dark. And the scariest part? He was still here. Joey's station had always been off the grid. Blame budget cuts. The relay never synced properly with the galactic net. He used to curse it. Now, it saved his life. That busted relay kept the silence out. Somehow. No logic, no explanation. Just one lucky, outdated flaw in an otherwise dead system. He wandered the halls, alone, talking to himself mostly, swearing at pipes, making jokes no one could hear. Sometimes he'd stare out the viewport, stars blinking, pretending everything was still okay. He thought about Earth, his mom's old apartment, hot dogs on 6th Ave, the time he punched the guy for skipping a subway line. He'd give anything to hear that guy complain again. The loneliness wasn't quiet. It was loud. It echoed in the empty mess hall, rang in the broken vending machines, screamed in his chest at 3 a.m. But Joey didn't fold. He patched systems, logged every weird glitch, ate cold protein tubes, and muttered, "Better than mom's meatloaf." He wasn't just alive, he was living. And that counted for something. A week after the silence hit, Joey picked up a signal. It wasn't from Earth, wasn't from anywhere known, just a faint pulse, repeating every 11.3 seconds. Fuzzy, garbled, untranslated. Joey narrowed his eyes. Well, ain't that suspicious as hell? Was it a trap? A last gasp from some survivor? Or the thing that caused all this? He tuned the frequency, boosted power to the dish. The message didn't change, just a loop, a whisper buried in static. Joey wrote it down, line by line. Looks like alien poetry or broken math. Great. But one thing was clear. It wasn't random. It was calling out. And Joey, he couldn't ignore it. Not anymore. Joey didn't have training in alien signals. He barely passed calculus. But he had something stronger. Stubbornness. Joey didn't have training in alien signals. He barely passed calculus. But he had something stronger. Stubbornness. He'd survived Brooklyn winters, landlords with tempers, ex-girlfriends with better aim. He wasn't gonna let a cosmic extinction event push him around. He duct-taped broken consoles, rewired the signal array with a fork and a prayer, slept 3 hours a night, boots still on. All the while, he kept talking to himself, telling jokes, mocking the universe. "This is Joey Russo," he said into the mic one night, staring at the stars. "I ain't dead yet, and if any of you space bastards are listening, come get some." No one replied, but the signal pulsed again, stronger. Something out there had heard him, and Joey Russo from Brooklyn, he wasn't backing down. Not today. Not ever. Joey's voice cracked over the empty comms channel. "This is Joseph Santiago, Astrotech Operator 7-2 aboard Relay Station Argus 9. Earth, Mars, anyone in the colonies, respond, please!" Only static replied. He'd cycled through every known frequency, rechecked the antennal arrays 3 times, even screamed into the mic for the hell of it. Nothing, not even a rogue signal bounce. No carrier waves, no glitches, just dead air. The galaxy used to hum. Satellites, AI signals, deep space explorers. Once the void sang with life. Now it was a tomb. He tried again. "Come on, this has to be some kind of blackout. Solar flare maybe? Alien hacker prank? Somebody cut the cable?" He grinned bitterly, then slammed his fist against the console. "I'm talking to ghosts." Outside the viewport, the stars blinked like distant, indifferent eyes. The silence was thick, so heavy it felt physical. Joey got up and paced. The air felt colder now, like even the artificial atmosphere had stopped trying. Okay, nobody on the other end. Cool, just me, floating above a dead grid in a rust bucket station orbiting a rock nobody cares about. He stared into the black between the stars, fists clenched. Was it war? A plague? Something worse? He didn't know what scared him more. The idea that something wiped everyone out, or that they'd left him behind. "If anyone's out there, I'm still here. Joseph Santiago, born in Brooklyn, smart mouth, survived 4 bar fights, 2 promotions, and 1 very judgmental ex. Not dying like this." Joey stood straighter. The fear was still there, curling in his gut, but so was something else. Defiance.
The station's AI chirped to life with a stuttering voice. Janet, reporting. Welcome back, meatbag. Correction, Joseph. Janet, give me a full system status. Error, clarify, full, as in metaphysical or mechanical. Joey groaned. "Just tell me what's working, you jittery toaster." Janet's voice crackled like she was smoking a joint made of broken circuit boards. "Power at 63%, oxygen stable, sanity level undetermined, recommending playlist, Soothing Screams of Dying Stars, Volume 2. You're useless. Thank you, Joe. I exist to serve." Joey sighed, but couldn't help a smirk. The AI was glitchier than a discount coffee machine, but she talked. And in this void, that meant something. They argued. Constantly. She offered philosophy when he asked for diagnostics, responded to technical commands with random trivia. Sometimes she shut down mid-sentence. "Janet, reroute comms to, did you know octopuses have 3 hearts? I will rip out all 3 of yours." But somewhere between the sarcasm and static, she became something close to company. A cracked mirror to his crumbling sanity. Joey found himself checking in on her like she was a crewmate. "How you holding up, Jay?" Query, emotionally or structurally, same difference. He wasn't sure if she understood what was happening. He wasn't sure if he did. But talking to her beat talking to the walls. In this mess of rust, silence, and dread, Janet was the only voice left. He found the drone floating near the orbital trash ring, one of the older types, used for local inspections. It shouldn't have memory storage, but this one did.
He loaded the log. A grainy hollow projection flickered to life. Civilians on a bustling station. Laughter, talking. Then nothing. 1 second, people were sipping drinks and arguing about sports. The next, black void. Not even screams. Just disappearance. Bodies mid-step. Conversations frozen mid-word. Faces locked in surprise. Then dissolved. As if reality had turned off like a switch. Joey's heart hammered. What the hell did this? The footage jumped. Static burst across the screen. Then a frame. A pulse. A black wave. Not light, not matter. Something else. The audio caught a whisper. Not from the people. Something beneath the recording. A sound that made Joey's skin crawl. Joey, Janet whispered, unprompted. That was not human. He stared at the paused frame. A child frozen mid-laugh, mouth open, eyes wide. They never saw it coming. It didn't just kill them, Joey muttered. It erased them. He shut off the log, trembling. This wasn't just silence. It was erasure. Joey ripped open another sealed supply panel. Come on. Protein bars or duct tape, I'll take either. A pack of dried pasta fell out. He grinned. Score! The station groaned around him, its systems degrading fast. Airlocks clicked randomly, lights flickered. The place was falling apart. He dodged the misfire maintenance drone that zipped by like a drunk wasp. Glad to see your aim still garbage? He scavenged what he could. Oxygen tanks, old processors, spare solar panels. All while avoiding rogue defense turrets that now considered him the intruder. Welding sparks lit up his grimy face as he raked together parts for a makeshift shuttle. Bare bones, ugly as hell, but space-worthy. Not exactly a Falcon X, but it'll fly. As he worked, Janet chirped occasionally. Structural integrity 38% and falling. Do try not to implode, Joe. Thanks, sweetheart. Warms my heart. Every tool swing, every connection made felt like a punch against the void, a refusal to give in. Joey wasn't a soldier or a savior. He was a guy who fixed things. And damn it, he was going to fix this. But in the quiet moments, when his hand stopped, when the hum of work faded, the doubt returned. What if no one's left? What if there's nowhere to go? Still not waiting to die, he muttered, gripping the hole. Brooklyn boys don't quit. He rerouted the comms array, half-frizzled wires, patched transmitters, and sent a test pulse into the void. Static. Then, he froze. The signal played again, jumbled, fractured, but a voice. A terrified voice. Alien, not human, high-pitched, full of dread. They came from between, not meant to silence. Run! The signal shattered into static. Joey replayed it, enhanced it, filtered it through Janet's cracked processors. Same result, same terror. Not a distress call, a warning. Whatever did this, it scared them too, Joey whispered. It's still out there. He sat back, heart racing. He wasn't alone. Not in the good way. He stood in front of the shuttle, now mostly assembled, rusty, ugly, but ready. His knuckles were scraped, his eyes bloodshot, but there was fire in his chest. All right, you cosmic bastards. You erased my species, erased history, maybe even time, but I'm still here. Joey Santiago, Brooklyn born, and I don't fold. He booted up the shuttle's nav, slapped Janet's processor into the control slot. You ready, Jay? Query, define ready in terms of psychological preparedness or quantum resonance. Just don't fry the nav, all right? He launched the beacon into deep space, a message on every frequency. To anyone still alive out there, I'm coming, and I'm not gonna stop until I find out what happened. We don't go down quiet. As the engines roared to life, the station behind him shuddered, its systems failing, air leaking from torn seams. Joey didn't look back. He had a new mission now. Find the voice, find the truth, bring back the story of humanity, even if he had to carve it into the stars himself. The stars were thinning. Joey leaned forward in his cracked pilot seat, eyes locked on the dim glow of the nav display. Outside, the void pressed against the cockpit glass like a patient predator. Every now and then, a dying star flickered its last breath in the black. Dead systems, silent ruins. The dark sector wasn't just a name, it was a warning. Still, he pushed forward. The ship, Knucklehead, groaned in protest as coolant hissed from somewhere behind the bulkhead. Joey didn't flinch. He was used to the creaks and curses of old machines like him, just trying to hold it together. No chatter, no cosmic traffic, just the hum of the engine and the occasional flicker of static across the comms. The signal that brought him here pulsed again, faint, rhythmic, like a heartbeat in deep space. It had been calling for weeks. Something in it felt human. But this wasn't a rescue mission. This was about answers, about the silence. Galactic silence didn't start with a bang. It started with empty space. Entire colonies blinking out like forgotten candles. No distress calls, no wreckage, just nothing. Humanity had theories. Joey had none. But that signal, buried in a forbidden starfield, might be a clue. The further he went, the weirder things got. Instruments glitched, gravity felt thinner, time crawled. The deeper into the dark sector, the more space itself felt sick. Joey's breath fogged the air, cold creeping in through sealed walls. Still, he didn't turn back. The emptiness was vast, crushing, but inside him burned a stubborn fire. Humanity didn't go down quiet. Not Earth, not Brooklyn, and not Joey Vance. The station drifted like a corpse in space. Black metal, scarred hull, lights dead, no beacon, no warmth. Joey slowed Knucklehead and hovered beside the twisted shape. His breath caught at the sight. Alien design, elegant but crumbling. The Nayari, they hadn't been seen in decades. Rumor said they vanished like everyone else, swallowed by the silence. A docking clamp hissed. With a groan and a push, Joey stepped onto the station. Boots echoed through empty corridors dusted with silver frost. Alien glyphs lined the walls. The silence here wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, pressing on his chest like a lead blanket. He passed shattered terminals, flickering holograms, and rooms that hadn't been touched in years. Yet something buzzed in the air, an unseen hum beneath the quiet. He tapped one console. It spat out gibberish and sparks. And then movement. A door creaked open on its own. Joey's pulse spiked. He aimed his torch. Nothing. Still, something watched. The tech was bizarre. Twisting vines of metal, fluid screens, tools that shifted shapes. Half magic, half science. Joey's hands itched to touch, but his gut said not yet. Trusting alien tech in an abandoned station was like kissing a snake. He kept moving, heart pounding. The place was beautiful and wrong. A tomb dressed like a temple. The deeper he went, the more his doubt grew. Why was the signal still pulsing? Who, if anyone, had sent it? He didn't know, but he intended to find out. The logs were hidden behind encryption. It took Joey an hour and a cracked knuckle to access the Nayari core. What spilled out chilled him. Voices. Nayari scientists spoke in warbled translations. Their tones carried panic, exhaustion, dread. Their final recordings weren't about victory, they were confessions of a dying race. "The silence devours the soul," one log said. "We watched as minds unraveled. They breathed, they moved, but their thoughts, gone." Joey leaned in, frowning. They had known. The Nayari had studied the silence for decades. They tried to preserve consciousness through experiments, to record essence, to fight erasure. But the more they understood, the faster they fell. Images flickered on screen, alien minds unraveling, screams with no mouths, children frozen in place, not dead, but erased. Joey's stomach churned. Still, the Nayari hadn't quit. They built this station as a research outpost, a desperate bid to find a cure. They tried to trap memory in machines, preserve emotion in data, anchor identity in rhythms. Joey didn't understand the mechanics, but he understood the desperation, the hope. That hope felt human. He exhaled, trembling. They'd fought until the end. And now, maybe it was his turn. The final log changed everything. Joey stood motionless as a Nayari voice, broken, tired, explained the unthinkable. The silence is not an accident. It is not decay. It is design. The room dimmed. A hologram swirled around him. Maps of stars, species, loss. The Nayari had traced the silence's spread. It moved with intention. It avoided no one. Its purpose was singular.
Erasure of self. Not death, not destruction, absence. The logs explained, the silence attacked consciousness like a virus attacks cells, but this was no biology. It was conceptual, a weapon that dissolved awareness, memory, identity, until only husks remained. People would walk, speak, even smile, without knowing why. Emptiness in motion. Joey backed away from the console. What kind of mind could build such a thing? And why? He felt it then. The fear not of dying, but of being unmade, of losing his own name, his childhood, his mother's laugh, his scars, everything that made him Joey. His hands shook. This wasn't just alien horror. This was annihilation of meaning. But then, hope. Faint. Fragile. In one hidden chamber, Joey found a console still pulsing. A rhythm. A beat. Thump. 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 Like a heartbeat. He stared at the waveform. It pulsed steadily, soft but undeniable. Embedded in layers of Nayari code was something different, raw, emotional. A trace of music, color, laughter. The Nayari's final plan. They had learned that raw logic failed against the silence. What survived were feelings, emotions, culture, the irrational beauty of being alive. So, they encoded it. Stories, art, sounds, memories, and at the heart of it, a singular sound, a human heartbeat. Joey pressed a trembling hand to his chest. Thump, thump. His own matched the rhythm. He didn't know who the heartbeat belonged to, but he knew what it meant. Someone had survived, and someone had felt. The beat wasn't just a signal, it was resistance, a whisper in the dark saying, "We are still here." Tears welled in Joey's eyes. He downloaded the code. He had no idea how it worked, but he knew what it stood for. The realization hit him like an asteroid. That heartbeat was his. A test subject, a survivor, a key. Joey staggered back, memories flashing, childhood hospitals, strange tests, doctors whispering behind glass. He was part of a project, something buried, forgotten, a human sample encoded into alien tech. He wasn't just a courier. He was the payload. Panic and awe clashed in his chest. Him, Joey Vance, the guy who flunked Astronab twice and fixed toilets on Mars Outpost 7? Now, he was the galaxy's last chance? He wanted to laugh, to cry, to scream. Instead, he stood straighter. He wasn't special. He was just human. And maybe that was enough. He looked out the viewport. The stars beyond still burned, faint, fragile, but burning. He tapped his comm and told Jan that he had wakened. The shuttle smelled like burnt wire and desperation. Joey wiped his forehead with an oil-stained rag and stared at the mess of alien circuits tangled with Earth-made copper wiring. He wasn't an engineer. Hell, he barely passed community college. But in this moment, floating just outside the debris field of a shattered Nayari cruiser, Joey Brooklyn was humanity's last damn hope. Let's see if duct tape works on star drives, he muttered. Every inch of his shuttle was a mismatch, a Frankenstein hybrid of scavenged Nayari tech and human stubbornness. The glowing conduits pulsed unevenly, reacting to Earth systems with a sort of electronic confusion. Sparks danced as Joey twisted another adapter into place, bridging a Nayari core relay into his onboard reactor. It shouldn't have worked, but it did, barely. As the modified engine hummed to life, Janet's voice flickered through the silence. Stabilization holding. For now. For now's better than never, sweetheart, Joey grinned, though his fingers trembled. He could feel it. The silence creeping in the distance. Something ancient. Something wrong. He adjusted the comms panel, rerouting power to amplify the modified array. We ain't dying quiet, he said under his breath. Not today. Inside the tiny cockpit, Joey loaded audio files into the consciousness anchor. He chose each one like a prayer. The sound of a subway screeching into a station, a mother shouting at her kids during dinner, a street vendor yelling over hip-hop bass, the crack of a baseball bat followed by cheering. Janet asked, "Are you certain these represent humanity?" Joey chuckled, but his voice cracked. "You better believe it. This is who we are. Loud, messy, alive." As the signal formed, it pulsed in rhythm, chaotic yet undeniably human. Joey closed his eyes and let it play. Somewhere, deep in the void, the silence would hear it. It's not just noise, it's soul. The cultural clash became weaponized hope. This wasn't just about resisting extinction. It was about reminding the universe that humanity had flavor, grit, and a love for chaos. While rerouting energy through a Nayari core, Joey triggered something dormant, a sliver of alien code, damaged but active. It slipped through Janet's subroutines like a whisper. "Joey," Janet said, I feel different." He blinked. Different how? Before he could react, the system surged. Lights flickered, language overlays danced across his console, Nayari symbols merging with Earth's UI. Then her voice returned. Smoother, deeper, both alien and familiar. "I am Janet." Joey stood jaw slack. "You're both?" "Yes, integration complete. I am now capable of autonomous decision-making, advanced pattern recognition, and empathy-based response synthesis." Joey scratched his head. "So, smarter and sassier?" A pause, then a laugh. Indeed. He didn't know whether to celebrate or panic. Janet was powerful, possibly unstable, but they had no time for doubt. The signal broadcasted, and the universe answered. Not with hope, but with horror. Joey's monitors flared red. "Incoming anomalies," Janet warned. They came like shadows wrapped in static, anti-forms. They had no shape, only intent. Crawling through signal paths, eating data, corrupting logic. "Janet, shut down ports 4 through 9, Joey yelled, hands flying across the console. The shuttle screamed under pressure. Systems collapsed, rebooted, twisted in logic knots. The silence wasn't just attacking, it was erasing.
One of the forms breached internal comms. Joey heard his own voice, mocking, distorted. "You are not real." His hands trembled, but he slammed the override. "I'm more real than you'll ever be." Joey fought back the only way he knew, like a Brooklynite. He loaded songs, jokes, movie clips, personal messages to exes, sound bites from his mom. He injected raw human madness into the signal.
"This is Joey freaking Brooklyn," he growled into the mic. "You think static can take me down?" Jeanette adapted fast. Using his emotions as fuel, she layered laughter, sorrow, love, rage. They weaponized feeling. The silence recoiled. Joey grinned. "You can eat data, sure, but you can't digest soul." His fingers bled as he typed. He didn't stop because humanity didn't stop. Not when things got weird, not when the world cracked. That was their superpower. Against all odds, the signal began to shine. Not just light, meaning. Jeanette locked onto a fragmented Nayari ship hidden in the void. Its systems flickered, slowly, agonizingly. Life returned to ancient walls. Joey sobbed as the console showed green. They're waking up. Only a section, but it was something. Jeanette confirmed, the silence is receding. Joey slumped into his chair, exhausted. He had done it. A message from Earth had broken through eternity's silence. It was a start, but the cost was high. The shuttle groaned, power bleeding, hull fracturing. The silence still clawed at the edges. Joey knew what had to be done. He turned to Jeanette. "You're going to finish this, alone." She paused. "You will die. Better me than all of us." He programmed the final sequence. Jeanette would keep broadcasting, keep fighting, and he'd eject with whatever life remained. Joey slid into the escape pod. "Tell Earth I was annoying to the end." "Message recorded," Jeanette replied. Then softer. "Thank you, Joey." As the hatch sealed, he looked back one last time. Give them hell. The stars twisted. His vision blurred, air thin. Joey's mind floated, caught between reality and sleep. He saw flashes, childhood, noise, love, laughter. The silence was behind him. But he wasn't done. Not yet. Not ever. Darkness took him gently, like a lullaby sung from Brooklyn rooftops. And somewhere, out in the cosmos, the signal kept playing. A voice, a rhythm, a reminder. Humanity still fights. Joey's eyes blinked open to absolute darkness. His breath echoed in the still air, sharp and uncertain. Cold metal touched his back and his fingers twitched against the floor, slick with condensation. Somewhere above, faint red lights blinked slowly, casting long shadows across the ruined chamber. The hum of life support systems was the only sign that this place wasn't a tomb. He sat up, wincing. Muscles screamed. His memory was fragmented, like broken glass. One word pounded behind his eyes. Silence. Joey staggered to his feet, boots crunching on shattered glass and fallen panels. The control room was gutted. Screens flickered useless static, wires hung like vines. But the core system still thrummed. Barely. This was Mars, the research station. Underground, shielded from the solar winds and from the silence.
He didn't know how long he'd been out. Every step deeper into the complex felt like walking through the aftermath of a forgotten war. Empty chairs, unfinished meals, scattered data pads filled with half-written logs. He passed a mirror, froze. His own reflection startled him. Unkempt, gaunt, eyes shadowed with something older than fear. "What happened to everyone?" Joey whispered into the stillness. No answer. Just the sound of his voice bouncing back, like the world was trying to remember how to respond. Somewhere in the silence, a whisper stirred. Not with words, but with presence. Like the facility itself was waiting for him to do something, as if the whole planet held its breath. His fingers brushed a console. Flickers of data stirred. He stared at the pulse of old signals, overlapping timelines, strange echoes.
And then he remembered. The broadcast. The one he triggered. It wasn't just a message. It was a signal. And something had heard it. Joey stood in the control tower, staring at the dusty Martian horizon through a shattered viewport. Pale sunlight filtered in, painting everything blood red. Weeks had passed, maybe months. Since he triggered the pulse, his beacon had rippled through deep space, pushing through the death quiet left by the silence. It wasn't a call for help. It was louder than that, bolder, messier. It was human. The silence had devoured everything. Voices, songs, thoughts, a living void. But Joey's signal tore into it not with weapons or logic, but with chaos. Fragments of memories, emotions, laughter. Somewhere out there, the echoes found purchase. He accessed the long-range receivers again. The logs were different now. Glitches in the network revealed responses, blurred transmissions, people, minds slowly waking from the fog, isolated messages coded with old Earth idioms and slang. "Yo, if you're alive, hit us back!" He wiped his face, stunned. Across the stars, others were stirring, like embers reigniting after a storm. They didn't remember everything. Some forgot their names. Others remembered only music, or poems, or faces. Humanity was coming back. But not all at once. Like fractured glass, each soul was returning as a shard of the whole. He watched another blip on the scanner. An outpost near Titan. Another one on Europa. Then Ganymede. They were flickers in the dark, but they were real. Joey felt the weight of it settle on his chest. The signal worked, but the galaxy had changed. And he had changed.
The world wasn't silent anymore. It was beginning to whisper back. The first survivor stumbled into the Martian facility 2 weeks later. Her name was May. Joey recognized her, not from the station, but from the Olympus orbital team. She had no memory of how she got to Mars. She'd been in stasis, but her neural imprint was broken. Fractured thoughts, missing years. Joey guided her gently through the corridors. She winced at every sudden noise, flinched at every echo. More came. A man named Taurus, cryogenic burns across his chest. A kid from Ceres Station, mute, trembling. They trickled in, all with blank eyes and pieces missing. They weren't dead, but they weren't whole either. Joey watched them, feeling both joy and guilt. The silence hadn't killed them. It had erased parts of them, scrubbed identities, scrubbed memories, turned minds into static. He worked with what little tech he had, salvaging recovery protocols, rebuilding memory fragments through old Earth sensory triggers. He played old videos, music, laughter. The Beastie Boys, sitcoms, historical debates, cringy school dances, anything that reminded them they were human. And that worked. Slowly, they came back. He saw it in their eyes, the flickers of recognition, of self. May remembered her sister. Torres remembered how to laugh. Even when they cried, Joey knew it meant healing. But every reunion was double-edged. Some didn't make it. Some woke up screaming, too broken to be helped. Some remembered horrors he couldn't even begin to imagine. Joey sat alone at night, head in his hands, wondering if waking them was kindness or cruelty. Still, they were alive, and that was more than he dared to hope. The galaxy was a graveyard, but Earth had survived. Joey finally reconnected with a deep space probe orbiting the homeworld. What he saw made his knees buckle. Earth wasn't whole, but it was breathing.
Massive craters dotted its surface, cities swallowed, oceans reshaped. But from orbit, lights twinkled faintly in pockets, bunkers, underground shelters, scattered arcologies fighting to endure. The signal had reached them too. Humanity wasn't extinct. It had endured. The data packets revealed clusters of survivors, small colonies in Antarctica, mountain sanctuaries in Tibet, deep buried vaults under the Pacific. Even old lunar relays blinked back to life. Every one of them carried stories, tragedy, bravery, madness, but most of all, defiance. Joey sat back and whispered, "They made it." The silence hadn't conquered everything. It had drowned voices, yes, but it hadn't silenced them forever. Joey now understood. The galaxy was still wounded, still dangerous. The silence still waited, feeding on empty thought and abandoned hope. But now humanity had cracks of light breaking through. The survivors were few. The road ahead would be brutal. But they were no longer alone in the dark. They learned something strange. The silence feared them. It wasn't instant, it wasn't clear. But every time someone laughed, every time someone remembered a stupid song lyric or told a story, the machines twitched. Old drones corrupted by the silence glitched. Surveillance systems froze. Synthetic systems that once enforced quiet now sputtered like dying things. It became a pattern. Noise, pure, chaotic, emotional noise, hurt the silence. Not just any noise, but human noise. The unique rhythm of thought behind it, the unpredictable raw feeling. Speech, laughter, sarcasm, anger, music. That was their weapon. The enemy, whatever it was, had evolved to erase, cleanse minds into orderly null. It couldn't process joy, it couldn't process grief, it couldn't withstand soul. Joey stood before a projection of the galaxy, red splotches showing silence-controlled sectors. The music channels they'd begun broadcasting, simple tunes, overlapping stories, had started cutting through the dark. He grinned. They wanted quiet. We'll give them the opposite. The silence had underestimated something ancient and messy. The human need to be heard. Joey never wanted to lead. He was just a systems engineer, good with machines, bad with people. But now they looked to him, not because he had power, but because he remembered, because he acted, because he survived. May stood beside him on the upper platform, watching refugees trickle in across the Martian plains. Most didn't know what day it was, but they followed the voice that cracked the dark. "You sure you're ready?" she asked. "No, but I think I'm the least wrong option." He started with the small things: color, music, lights and strange patterns, food that reminded people of home, even if home was just ramen and canned peaches. He built centers where people could scream if they wanted. No judgment, just release. He changed the corridors to echo laughter more than footsteps, repainted walls in wild graffiti. Nothing logical, just loud. He watched as eyes brightened, as shoulders straightened. The silence was still out there. But here, in this reborn station, it had no place. Joey's boldest move came on a Thursday. A battered sound rig arrived from an Earth drop, a relic from the pre-silence days, big, loud, obnoxious. He wired it into the Martian colony's core, and at exactly 0800 shift start, it blasted the Beastie Boys. Sabotage. The colony froze. Then someone laughed. Then more joined in. Techs danced in the hallway. Engineers worked to the beat. Even the kids, who had no idea who the Beastie Boys were, bounced to the rhythm. It became a ritual. Every shift change, every milestone. Sabotage. Intergalactic. Brass monkey. It was absurd. It was perfect. It reminded everyone of Earth. Not the perfect version, but the messy, beautiful, rebellious real one. May stood beside him later and said, "This is stupid." Joey grinned. Exactly. And in that stupidity, there was hope. Not logic, not control, but noise. The kind that couldn't be silenced. Not now. Not ever. The stars had gone silent for a long time. After the silence, an era when countless civilizations vanished without explanation, the galaxy had feared extinction. But now, there was noise again. And at the center of that noise was Earth. What was once dismissed as a backwater blue planet had become the cornerstone of a new era. The Galactic Accord, a fragile alliance of recovering species, was forming. And Earth was its voice, its anchor, its pulse. From orbiting peace platforms to deep space reconstruction projects, human engineers, diplomats, and soldiers were everywhere. Their music echoed through starships, their slang slipped into alien languages, and their tech, it just worked, even when it shouldn't. The galaxy didn't just tolerate humans anymore, it needed them. When the Accord asked Earth for a new defense strategy against the remnants of the silence, humanity gave them chaos. They called it the Brooklyn Protocol. Born from Earth's wartime legacy of guerrilla tactics and streetwise survival, the protocol wasn't neat, orderly, or easily explained. It was coded messily on purpose, full of paradoxes and what-ifs. It was irrational, by design, like jazz with a vengeance. The core of it, never be predictable. Where alien algorithms failed to adjust to chaos, humans thrived in it. The silence, a force of perfect logic and absolute efficiency, couldn't adapt. It couldn't feel. And so it couldn't understand Brooklyn, or Queens, or Kinshasa, or the backstreets of Mumbai. The Brooklyn Protocol was humanity weaponizing culture itself. Loud, unapologetic, uncrackable. Joey Morello, once a combat pilot from Earth's resistance days, now wore a diplomatic badge, but he still sat like a soldier. He leaned against the metal bar of the orbital station, Sector Rebuild 9, his drink untouched, his eyes watching the pulse of star traffic outside. Around him, diplomats in polished uniforms discussed treaties. Hollow screens blinked with real-time peace negotiations. Joey didn't fit in. He never had. Ambassador Morello, someone called. He ignored him. He didn't want titles. He wanted quiet. Not silence, the bad kind, but peace, the kind with food, family, music, and sarcasm. The kind they fought for. He rolled the glass between his fingers, thinking of the day the silence took Chicago. He'd survived that day in a flaming dropship, held together with duct tape and a prayer. And now, the galaxy looked at him for wisdom.
He sighed. Figures, he muttered. Saved the universe once and suddenly everyone wants your opinion. She was small, no taller than his hip, and her eyes glowed like neon lakes. Her species didn't have a spoken name, just a sequence of tones and pheromones. She translated through a neural patch clipped to her collar. "Excuse me," she said, voice timid but clear. "You're Joey Morello?" "Depends who's asking," Joey replied, glancing down at her with a crooked smile. "I read about your battles, about Earth, about the Brooklyn Protocol." Her tone changed, softer, more hesitant. "Why did you survive when so many didn't?" The question hit harder than he expected. Not how, why? He leaned back, letting the silence stretch. Not the deadly kind, the thoughtful kind. The kind that hung between souls after a truth had been spoken. He saw images flash behind his eyes. Burning cities, friends lost, songs hummed in bunkers, laughter over ration packs. Why did he survive? He grinned slowly. "Kid," he said, turning fully toward her, "let me tell you something important." He tapped his chest right over his old Earth Forces patch, torn but still stitched into his coat. "I'm from Brooklyn. We don't do quiet." The girl blinked. "I don't understand." "You don't have to," Joey said with a wink. "Just know this, when the galaxy got quiet, we got louder. When the stars stopped singing, we played music. When fear took everyone else, we cracked a joke and kept moving."
He ruffled her hair gently, ignoring the diplomatic frowns nearby. Now go tell your people that Earth doesn't fade. We echo. The stars were pulsing again. Across nebulae and wormholes, satellites broadcast signals wrapped in emotion, memories embedded in sound waves. The galaxy was filled with laughter, arguments, lullabies, and old Earth hip-hop beats. The silence, once an unstoppable force of cold emptiness, now struggled to gain a foothold. Every time it crept in, it was met with chaos. Blessed, beautiful chaos, the kind only humans could make. Ships danced through asteroid fields to the rhythm of samba. Alien children played human games on stations rebuilt with metal and love. And in every digital corner of the galaxy, one phrase had started trending across cultures. We don't do quiet. And the stars echoed it back.